Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Inktovo, the parent company of GraphicsFlow, Inksoft, Printavo, SignTracker, and Clarity. Welcome to the webinar today. We are going to be talking about from concept to close, selling smarter using a collaborative process and graphics. Something that very near and dear to my heart. My background is in the apparel decoration industry as a family business, a collegiate sportswear business. Also, our family had spiritwear stores in Arizona. So pretty much grew up around the t-shirt side of things. And graphics were just a critical part of our strategies, both in our retail business as well as our wholesale. So from a very early age, I was taught lead with graphics. I was a manufacturer's rep in that business. And so I was going into college bookstores all around the United States and making presentations. And when everybody's selling the same t-shirt, you better have a graphic on that connects with the buyer. And so we're going to teach you guys some strategies today on how you can use graphics as your secret weapon to separate yourself from the competition and also get more business, accelerate the sales cycle, leave happier customers, and most importantly, freeze out the competition. So let's get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So the name of the course is GraphicsFlow Academy from Concept to Close, Selling Smarter with Collaborative Graphics. So let's kind of lay the foundation a little bit. Why collaborative graphics matter. So your customers have no idea about the human capital involved in creating graphics. They just think it, falls out of a tree or it comes out of the ether, especially with AI now, which is somewhat devaluating that creative process. Customers expect graphics to get created quickly. They want graphics that have clear messaging. They want super creative artwork on any order, regardless of the size, whether it's a one-off or it's a big bulk order. And so one of the challenges around our work, oftentimes the sales process can slow down or stall because of that art collaboration process. You have slow approvals, communication's kind of vague. People don't really, know how to describe what they want. They give you like a general idea as, hey, I need, two people sitting around a campfire with a camper in the back with a camping theme, right? And you have to somehow make that happen. And so the idea here is to leverage your GraphicsFlow platform to engage customers kind of earlier in that sales process. And that's just going to streamline things. So you can get your orders done faster. You can kind of get ahead of rush times of the year. You have customers that are getting serviced with really great looking graphics, but you're not having to go and create all this manual work and customization that comes out of your pocket, but you still have happy customers and in some cases happier customers. So this idea of visual collaboration, working with customers visually, and you have a tool to get those ideas in front of them, you're going to have fewer revisions. You're going to get it right up front. Or if you do have a revision, maybe it's only going to be a single revision. And basically, you're going to have a happier customer because you've been collaborating with them, getting their input as you created these graphics. And in a sense, you're steering them. So you're directing them down a pathway that's better for your business because you have lower costs and you can get things done quicker, but it's better for their business because they get a higher quality graphics. So when you turn ideas into visuals, builds momentum and shortens the path to close. And that's it. If you get the artwork out of the way, then you get the deal closed a lot sooner. How is GraphicsFlow going to support that? One of the things about GraphicsFlow that's unique is it has graphics management that's tuned to the apparel decoration industry. So what does that mean? It can preview graphics files that other software cloud-based storage platforms can. So a good example, we can preview PSD files for Photoshop, EPS, AI. Most platforms will preview a PDF, not necessarily accurately, or a PNG or JPEG, but where are they going to preview a CorelDRAW file, a CDR file, or a DST file? The My Art functionality within GraphicsFlow is tuned very specifically to apparel decoration. And it's not a general art storage. It's really designed so that you can manage all the graphics formats and types of graphics files that are using within your business. So it's going to allow you to upload and organize your own art into collections if you choose to, or even a collection for a specific campaign. You can build out libraries that are tailored for repeat customers. So let's say you do a lot of work within the hospitality industry and you want to build out a library that's tuned into that, use it as a showcase to get ideas in front of other people and also provide proof that you kind of know what you're doing. It's going to create those previews from your uploaded designs, and you can do that in bulk or one at a time. And then you can take those designs once you've uploaded them and drop them into your art portal or into art approvals to share. So you're going to maintain control and consistency across all of your creative assets, and everybody on your team is going to be able to do that. So let's jump in to My Art in GraphicsFlow. When I'm in My Art in GraphicsFlow, It's going to be organized by folder, just like, like your hard drive would be. And then within these folders, we have different graphics based on either the customer, or in my case, I do customer and theme. So if I wanted to go into my Eagle store, I've got a lot of files in my Eagle store. You notice I have these organized by style. So if I wanted to upload a patch file here, I could put that into that category right there. Or I'm going to have them uploaded as embroidery files, or possibly PDF formats, or even the logos from my Inksoft store. We do have some SVG files. We're creating those previews, and in this case, we have everything stored as a specific set of files for a specific customer. But one of the things that I might do is I might store some files for general usage that I might use for marketing campaigns. So let's say I wanted to create some family reunion designs. This is more like by style. I'd store them in here. Or let's say I wanted to create some designs around, let's see here, school designs for Scottsdale Unified Schools. And you notice I also have mockups that are stored in here. Where this is handy is I can go over here and click on this, and this, and I can say add to art approval and instantly create an art approval for Scottsdale schools, send that over to a coach. Even though I might not be working with all these schools, kind of looks like I am. I'm tailoring this art content to the specific school, and I can control how we're sharing that art with them. So when I go in here to share this art approval with them, I can do it one of two ways. I can either invite them as a collaborator, just put in their email address. So I can invite them as a collaborator, put in their email address. I can choose the level of interactivity they have with that art approval. So I can say, hey, you can view only, you can comment and view, or you can view, comment, and approve. So view only would be like the students, comment might be the parents, and comment approve might be the coach or the booster person that's in charge of that. I can also just grab the link and put it into a regular email. But if I put the email over here, it's going to send this out. So what we're able to do is just get curated collections of artwork in front of customers really, really quickly. And then they can go in here, and if they're looking at it and they like it, they can go over here and say, yep, I really dig that. I'm going to approve it, or they can reject it. And now we have version control. So if they reject it, they can see the original as well as any new one that you add. So it's just a really great way to collaborate with your customers around artwork. So the key is starting by uploading your art into My Art, and then also saving art that you're customizing in GraphicsFlow and My Art. Because once you have that saved and organized, it's quite easy to add it to an art approval and get it in front of customers, or even add it to your, certainly can add that to your art portal as well. Now, one thing just to point out here, if I do upload graphics, there's some very industry specific things that I have in here. So for instance, I can include the decoration method, any kind of dimensions. I can include the colors in the design, whether they're specific Pantones or thread colors. And then I can also apply tags here. So if I wanted to apply a cross-country tag to this right here, I could apply that, and I actually have that tag already in there. So all you got to do is start typing cross, and that's going to come up. And then this is going to be searchable by the tag cross-country. Also, if cross-country was not in the file name, there'd be no way to search for it by cross-country. But if it was in the file name and also in a tag, I could search either way, either by the file name or the tag. So I wanted to kind of jump into My Art and art approvals to kind of lay a little bit of a foundation there. And we're going to go back to the deck. Customize stock art. When we have these files and the stock art that's being populated into GraphicsFlow every month, we have the ability to customize that art right directly within the application. We don't have to go to Illustrator. We don't have to go to Canva. We don't have to go to CorelDRAW. We don't have to go anywhere. We can customize those designs right within the platform. And it's a little bit different because these are production ready files. These are files that are already Pantone color separated for screen printing. They're files that don't have intersecting paths. So if we want to cut them for vinyl, they have optimized colors for digital printing, such as DTG, sublimation, or direct to film printing. So these files are production ready. So it's not like you just create something in AI and then you send it off to your printer and they're like, what are we supposed to do with this? I've got to basically recreate this and tune it up so it works for a transfer. You wouldn't have to do that with your GraphicsFlow files. So what this customized stock art enables you to do is let anyone on your team get brand ideas in front of a customer. They don't need any design expertise. You can have your front office staff doing this. You can have any salesperson doing this. Anybody on your team can do it. And they can do it on their phone or their mobile device. So you could literally be sitting at an event talking to someone and say, hey, let me get an idea in front of you. And the reason I know that works is I do that all the time at trade shows. If we're really busy and the booth is packed up, I just grab my phone. Customized stock art has text and logos. You can get them in front of your clients really fast. It enables anybody on your team produce artwork, and your art team's busy. The last thing they want to do is, hey, change east high to central high, change the colors, swap out the mascot. You can do that. You're going to reduce those bottlenecks, and you're shifting your designers to focus on high value projects, the things that you're paying them for, not this low level stuff like customizing templates. Because a graphic designer, they're more than happy to spend your money doing highly customized artwork because that's fun for them. That's gratifying for them. But that is a cost of business to you. So if you can find that balance where we're using your graphic designers to do that really complex artwork that's, high value, it's a big customer reorder potential, makes sense to do it. And then maybe you stock design some graphics flows for those smaller orders or orders that you need a quick turn on. So you're just able to get ideas in front of a client really fast. Every month, we're going to be getting new designs in front of you. And, if you want to go and edit a design, it's pretty straightforward. You search for a design, you find the design, you want to make those corrections to the design. All you're really going to have to do is just click on it and make the changes. So like in this design right here, if I hit customize and I open the design up, it's going to display the list of all the parts in the designs that I can change. And we'll change this to Central High School, hit enter. I'm going to put in 25 over here and we'll enter that. And we'll leave Homecoming in here. And actually Wildcats is what I usually use for Central. I don't have to change this bottom part, but maybe I don't want that bottom part. We can go ahead and turn that on or off so I can mute it. And maybe we're not well equipped to deal with a weathered overlay, or maybe we're really experienced with a weathered overlay. We can either keep it or mute it. There you go. And then if I want to swap out the clip art, like the pop print in the middle there, just put a clip art in there, I can do that too. So I'm just going to click on the little edit, and then we're going to type in cougar, hit enter. And we'll pop that cougar in there and let's go and change the color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that cougar and we're going to match up the cougar with some of the colors within the graphic. I think I'm going to go over here and do that same blue that's already in the design. It's going to blend in a little bit, but I think it's going to look pretty good. Yeah, it actually does look pretty good. And then I'm going to take this lighter blue. Let's make that gray. And then we'll just make the lighter blue either a lighter or darker gray, up to us. And then once we have that, we're taking a look at it and we want to do kind of the final colors, and we like that red, but we want like a deeper, really deep pop in red in there. We just globally swap out the red, and I think I want a little bit better blue. So we're going to go in here and change over to that more of a deeper blue, and we're done. So I'm kind of in training mode right now. It wouldn't take me a whole lot of time to do this. And what I would do, and typically in this kind of a situation, Central High Cougars, I'd name it, I'd drop it into my art, put it in a folder, save it, and then I would create an art approval and get it over to the customer. That's the basic process of the stock art customizer. And the cool part is I can go back to this design anytime I want and recustomize it. So I could change this to East Eagles Homecoming with the Eagles colors and rinse and repeat and get a whole bunch of fresh ideas in front of different customers that I'm trying to prospect with. And that's the basic idea behind the customizer. Empowering people with graphics. Anybody on your staff can do it. Monthly art drops. We talked a little bit about that. We are introducing new artwork into GraphicsFlow every month. We're doing the research so you don't have to. So our team of graphic designers is looking at popular websites. They're looking at graphic tee trends. They're looking at trends in product and color and fonts. And they're taking those trends and those ideas and they're building out fresh new graphics every month. But every month has a different theme. And the thing that's cool about graphics is just because this graphic has a pumpkin in it, doesn't mean that we couldn't swap that card out with a mascot and make it into a high school graphic. The artwork and the text are really placeholders. What we're really keen on is the composition. We can change all the fonts. We can do all that. Colors, we can change all the colors. But I'm just trying to find a graphic that I connect with. So like, for instance, this outdoor life graphic right here, that would make a great patch on an embroidery. And I might put the high school mascot in there and remove the forest background. So these are professionally created designs by apparel decoration artists, not general graphic designers. We're keeping that artwork fresh every month. You're not having to do the research because we're doing it for you. And what we're trying to do, and I think we're quite successful at it, is matching the retail graphics trends that you're seeing out in the real world, so that when your customers see the artwork, they go, yeah, that looks familiar. That looks as cool as what I just saw on the sideline of the professional sports team, or when we were on our vacation and we went in the resort wear shop and we saw those cool kind of collegiate graphics in there. We're your trend spotting partner. We're the ones that are researching the trends and getting ideas in front of you. Art approvals, we kind of went back with that. If you don't have an art approval process, it's really important to do that. We did a class in the last trade show, and I asked a polling question, how many of you do art approvals? And it was only about a third of the class, and I said, how many of you have donated spoiled goods to Goodwill in the last year? And everyone's hand that didn't do art approvals went up, I think. So, if you have a good bulletproof proofing process, you're going to get it done the first time. Customers are going to be happier. They're going to get exactly what they are expecting to get. And we're not having to create that awkward situation where the order's messed up and we're trying to find blame. Whose fault is it? It might be somebody's fault, but it's your problem, because if we create friction around that, we're probably going to lose the customer. And so we want to be really careful to minimize that. And a good art approval process is built into GraphicsFlow. So want to get those mock-ups created, we can upload the mock-ups from any platform. So we've got all the built-in feedback so they can approve, reject, comment. There's email communication going back and forth in that. There's confirmations happening. That back and forth speed, we can just get things going really quick. If there's a revision, I know instantly because I'm getting an email. I can bounce it back to them just by updating the graphic, and it'll send them an update saying, hey, here's the new version. We can create that customized stock art and make it feel personalized, but we don't have to start from scratch. A lot of times I'll talk to customers and they're like, that's the only way I know how to do it. And I said, is that a good business decision? And they're like, I'm not really sure. And I said, well, do this. Put $75 an hour as your labor rate and track what it's taking you on every single job. And then deduct that from the profit on that job and see if there's any money left over. And when you start framing it that way and people kind of start getting real with the amount of time they're spending on art, or their art department is, or what they're paying outsourced people to do, it really changes your perspective around doing custom art on small orders. So if an order doesn't have a reorder potential and a small order, you're probably losing money on it. So that's always the tricky part. So, and then, you're tracking all the decision making and you're storing all the design history. So you know exactly what went down. And so if we want to come back later on and, see kind of the history of that design and what their comments are, we've got some feedback on what they like. So if we want to do another design, we're like, oh yeah, don't use black again. They don't like black in the school colors because you've got all the history there where they commented, hey, I don't like to have black in school colors. You also have the GraphicsFlow art portal. This is one of my favorite parts of GraphicsFlow. It's that self-service experience. I think most people at some point in their career have gotten a screen grab from, let's say, Custom Ink, and the customer comes to you and they're like, hey, listen, I designed this on Custom Ink. Can you do something like this? Well, you're going to have to recreate that artwork. It might not be great looking. So the ultimate products that you create might not sell through well. And the other thing is, we don't want them on somebody else's website. They could land on somebody else's website and just stay over there because they found us. So we want to give that customer that collaborative experience where they can choose designs. And not every person wants to go in and click on a design and customize it themselves. And in fact, a lot of people prefer not to. That's your job. They just want to give you some ideas and turn it over to you and have you make the changes and really make it something spectacular and unique for them. And that's exactly what the art portal does. So you want to offer your clients that self-service visual experience, pick graphics, and you have to educate your customers the difference between free and custom design paths. The free path is, hey, go to my art portal, pick something out. I'll have it back to you next business day. There's no art charges. And the custom path is, hey, custom art, $75 an hour. I'll give you one revision. You want to do an extra revision, or do you need more work? It's another $75. Average is usually about $150 per design. That's pretty low, actually. And I need 5 to 10 days to do it. So who's going to choose the custom art option unless they have a ton of lead time, a bigger budget, and there's going to be a high volume order? And so giving customers both options, I think is really smart. And, you promote the art portal as a value add with that next day customization turnaround. It just doesn't take long to customize that design. And then also, you can free up your design team, or maybe your design team is you, to do more productive activities. So let's just take a quick peek at an art portal. And this is the one that's my portal from my GraphicsFlow account. And I have it directed over to craigmertens.com because we can direct that portal anywhere we want. And in my portal, I've also got some showcases around specific types of artwork. Like I have a little military showcase that I built. So I'm just linking in art approvals in here. So we're linking in those and they can actually comment on those designs if they want. And, they want to look at designs that are specific to local schools. I've added my own customized designs from GraphicsFlow. So if a customer clicks on one of these and they submits a request, these are editable right back in GraphicsFlow, and I can change east to west. I can change the eagle to the cougar, or I could have my art portal just land on just general design ideas, and I can go into my portal and I can determine what shows first. So in my portal, it's organized by date first, and then it's also organized by sports first. So the sports artwork is going to populate. We can pick whatever you want. We can disable categories, enable categories, prioritize categories, turn on fonts, turn off fonts. You have complete customization within GraphicsFlow around that. So when these art requests come in, it's basically the customer just saying, hey, listen, I'm going to put my little notes in here and submit this design, and this is when I need it. You're going to get a little email. They're going to get a confirmation. You're going to make the custom changes, and then you're going to bounce it back to them in an art approval. And that whole process could take literally 5 minutes once you get it down. And this is a very worthy way for you to recondition your customers to choose stock design so you don't have all of that custom work and the costs associated with it. You can really shorten the sales process by using a portal to say, hey, let's start here. This is the place that we start. So I love that. Real world sales strategies using GraphicsFlow. Creative lock-in. So this is what I learned when I was a manufacturer's rep. If I collaborate with the buyer over the design, a lot of people really like that creative process. Now there'll be people that says, hey, listen, come up with a couple good things. I don't need to, I don't want to really provide you with a lot of input, but I find that to be the exception rather than the rule. If you get that customer engaged in part of the decision, hey, what colors are we going to use? Which mascot are we going to use? Do we want to incorporate elements from your corporate logo in here? That'd be kind of fun to do a collegiate thing. You start getting a buyer involved with that process, there's an emotional investment, and they're not going to go and look for another vendor. They're linked to you. And that kind of that co-creation process, it builds trust, builds rapport. They got a personal connection with the outcome. So they're excited to see the final product because they helped, in a sense, design it. And that's what you want to do. And I learned that as a manufacturer's rep. When I would do that with my buyers, I always sold more and I froze my competition out because guess what? They weren't doing that. They were just going in there with stock designs. And I was sitting down with the buyer and saying, hey, what about this? What about that? We could change this. Back in those days, I had to go back to the art department and have them do a mock-up and FedEx me a color copy. So now you guys have all these tools where you can provide instant gratification to your customers. And when you're collaborating on that artwork, you can get the deals secure before you've even talked product or pricing. They're buying the graphic. They're just trying to figure out what they're going to put it on. The pricing, you got to be in the ballpark, but they're not going to be so fixated around pricing when they're in love with the graphic because they know they can only get it from you. This process makes them part of the product and it makes it really hard for you to be replaced. They're leaning into you for creativity, and that's really important. Upfront contracts. I'm a huge believer. You have to accept clear expectations with your customer. If you like what you see, you got to buy it from me. If you don't tell certain people that, they think it's cool to just go and take this to another vendor and say, hey, thanks for the free art services. I'm going to take this over to somebody else. And, I've experienced customers pretty upset when they see something they created on a competitor's website because the customer had what I like to call moral flexibility and took that over to another shop. So we want to avoid that. And I feel really strongly that you can just by having a simple conversation up front with your buyers and saying, hey, listen, if we're going to do this creative work for you, you don't have the copyright use to take that to somebody else. I'm doing this work for you. So if you want to use it, you have to buy it on my products. There'll be exceptions for that because there might be a situation where you don't create one type of thing and they say, hey, can I use this graphic on a banner? I don't do banners, but you should be doing banners because it's easy to do and to outsource. That does come up. You're building credibility by being upfront and professional. You're getting any kind of friction points out of the way up front. It's very professional. You've set a boundary there. You're not being hard with them. You're just being, hey, this, you have to understand, like I've got a lot of invested in this graphic and I don't want to do all this work and then have you take it somewhere else. And if you don't trust people, that's where disclaimers and watermarks come through. And in GraphicsFlow, when they select a graphic and approve it with the art approval function, you can have them click through the disclaimer that says, hey, you can't take this somewhere else. Also, you can elect to enable watermarks in GraphicsFlow on art approvals as well. So if you have somebody you really don't trust, you can customize a watermark. You can rotate it, make it bigger, smaller, more opaque, less opaque. You can do all of that. You want to position your art service as a consultative thing, not some free labor thing. You want to say, hey, listen, this is part of the value that I'm providing you, and it's not free. It does have value. Leverage pitch stores and Inksoft. So this is a really fun one. What a great way to get ideas in front of a customer to create a store for them. Just a simple little store. In Inksoft, it's easy to clone a store. So once I created a store, clone it, swap out the logos and the colors, put a couple new fresh graphics in there that I customized in the stock art customizer. And then that becomes your showroom. And boy, that customer is instantly bought in. Leave a voicemail. Hey, I'm going to send you an email. On that email is a link. I created a little store. It's not a live store. I just wanted to see what our capabilities are. Bear in mind, we can change all the product mix and the graphics, but I just want to see what we could do for you. And by the way, I'm local, and we can move pretty quick. What a great thing to do. And so you leave them that little voicemail, send them an email follow-up with the link. They get that email, they click in here, and they're like, oh, wow, these guys are serious. And they can click in to the merch session and see some customized graphics with their logos and their colors. You can also be showing this e-store to another school. It doesn't even have to be custom to them. It just makes it look like you're dealing with these guys. And this is such a pro-looking store. And this store right here, this is a standard Inksoft store. There's nothing really custom about this. These are all tools that are just cooked into Inksoft. If you want to have them go in and click on that patch and name drop leather edge patches, you can do that. If you want them to go in and order a grad banner and have it actually change the text on live on screen, you can do that. Leveraging your Inksoft stores to do things that are more interactive. I mean, that's what gets that buyer connected. And again, they're going to buy this because this is actually a really cool grad sign. Using a store as kind of a pitch store, I think it's a really smart idea, and I highly recommend. What I'm kind of advocating here is prospecting. You have to have a plan when you do prospecting, and there's certain times of year it makes more sense than others, like holidays, or there's an event coming up, or back to school. We're right in the middle of back to school right now, and so you have all the relevant artwork for that particular theme or time of the year or situation cooked right into your graphics flow. So I use an example of some pretty good looking Christmas art here, including that ugly Christmas sweater. But you could put together a prospecting plan around local businesses and show them some Christmas ideas. Build a pitch store for Christmas with different graphics from different people within your community. So you do have to research who the key decision makers are. If you're not using Perplexity, which is a free AI tool to do that, you should absolutely be doing that. You can just say, hey, tell me about this company and who the decision maker is. And sometimes they'll provide their email address and their phone number. Highlight your ability to collaborate on design, not just sell shirts. You don't want to be the quote t-shirt person. You want to be that creative resource to them that gets all these great ideas in front of them, so their employees or the team or the people supporting the team have all this great looking merch that they're excited to wear. Because I think all of us have gotten that free t-shirt or paid for a t-shirt because you kind of had to, and you weren't so excited about that. It sits in your closet or your drawer, and then after a while you just go, I'm never going to wear this, and it ends up on the Goodwill pile. If I don't bond with the graphic, it's not going to stay in my library unless there's some huge emotional tug to it. Like maybe I ran a 10K or something. It's just not going to stay in my library unless I really bond with the graphic. So you bond with the graphic, they're going to be more likely to want to purchase from you in the future. If you're going to do a prospecting campaign in an initial email, definitely do a mock-up to see something general, like use a hat. If you're going to do a hat, use like a Richardson 112. If you're going to do a t-shirt, just a basic t-shirt, doesn't have to be any specific brand, but just to showcase the graphic independent of the mock-up. Because if you just send the mock-up, the graphic's too small and they can't really see it. So that's why when we use art approvals to do this, and that's a smart way to do it, is to link to an art approval, then we can have the big blow up of the graphic, not so big they can steal it, but enough so they can really see it. And then they can also see it on the mock-up. And I think that's a really smart way to do it. So I probably wouldn't embed the graphic into the email. I would embed a link to an art approval tuned just to them. And the reason for that is they can comment. So when they're at that art approval, if we give them commenting ability, they can comment and they're interacting with you and emails are being generated. That's collaboration. When you're going out to prospect, build a checklist. Doesn't have to be huge. A target list, whether it's an Excel file or if you want to create something in your CRM, that's a great way to organize it. So you're going to have to do a little research to figure out who the likely candidates are and, the decision makers. Once you've done this for a while, you have a pretty good list of different community organizations and who's in charge of them. So you can start emailing to them and set up a emailing campaign around, say, MailChimp or Constant Contact. And then you can just keep getting ideas. I've got a couple customers that just persistently send me these graphics prospecting emails. I get them all the time. I never unsubscribe because I just want to see what you guys have going on. And people are very creative, and they always do mock-ups. There's always a really cool custom graphic in it. And kudos to you that are doing that because it's super smart. I do appreciate the initiative. And if I was an end user, I would probably consider purchasing from you. You can build a little mini art catalog tailored to the audience. And you do that in the form of an art approval. Just type in Firefighter and GraphicsFlow, select those designs, drop them into an art approval, and that becomes your curated collection of firefighter designs. Even better, take some of those designs, customize them for that fire department or some other local fire departments, and include those in the art approval. And you can reuse that art approval with multiple people. Just want to turn off commenting. Otherwise, everybody will see everybody else's comments. So when you share it, just share it as view only. Always have good CTAs. If you don't know what a CTA is, call to action, that's a really important part of, especially an emailing campaign. And if you're struggling with CTAs, that's where ChatGPT and programs like Perplexity are great. They'll write your email copy for you. They'll put in the CTA. They'll strengthen existing emails. They'll give you frequency on how often you should be sending that email out. They'll give you the step-by-step instructions for MailChimp. There's really no excuse today with programs like ChatGPT and also Perplexity and Claude and some of those other ones. So lead with art, not product. So this is just cooked into my psyche. This is the way I was taught. My dad taught me how to sell decorated apparel. He started selling decorated apparel in 1970. I came along that journey with him as a kid. I would go into his appointments, especially during the summer when he was selling all the uniforms to the high schools. So I was bored silly waiting for him to get done, but I was paying a little bit of attention. And he would always talk about the graphics. He was just a huge person on graphics. And when we started Desert Sportswear, we built that whole business around graphics. So when we went in to deal with the buyer, I went in and made a presentation with the buyer. I had all these great samples with all these great graphics. And I could talk to the buyer and say, hey, listen, this is a cool graphic that we did for Arizona State, but you're the University of Colorado. We can make it even cooler for you guys. We'll change out these colors. Let's throw the buffalo in there. And I built my whole business around that. And so I would always lead with the art, because then I wouldn't get lined up on pricing. And I got that emotional connection to the artwork, and I got the buyer collaborating. So make the artwork the centerpiece of your sales conversation. That's what makes you different. You guys have access to GraphicsFlow, which means you have an elite graphics collection. You have one of the strongest collections of graphics in the industry, independent of these big giant companies that have been around all these years. They don't even have collections like what GraphicsFlow has. So you have access to all these tools. So make that the centerpiece of your conversations. And you can shift focus away from garments or pricing. That comes later. That's an idea that's down the road once we get the graphics kind of tuned in. We're going to be talking generally about graphics, but the last part of the process is, okay, are we going to do this on a premium cotton heritage tee, or are we going to do it on a Golden 5000? What's your budget? Let's talk about that. Build emotional momentum before any quote is delivered. So you've already got that connectivity, emotional tug to the graphic. So when you start talking about pricing, you're less likely to have somebody beat up on you. Let the art do the selling. They love the way it looks. The price is just going to be a secondary consideration. Now, something that's really important and I want to talk about here for a second is revenue sharing models. And around that price thing, if you start shifting your focus to online sales using a revenue sharing model, then that's another way to avoid that direct price comparison. And so I just put some examples of like what other people do in terms of revenue sharing. So if you had a $20 t-shirt and you gave them a 15% revenue share on the gross amount, they're making $3 a shirt. They'd be making $4 a shirt once they got between 5,000 and 10K. So that bracket would be $4 a shirt, and then they'd be making $5 a shirt from 10,000 on up. So you set these in tiers, and they don't pay back to $1. And those are very real revenue share programs that we do that customers use all the time. Those are kind of going rates. Sometimes people will do more, like a 30 or 35%, or maybe even 40%. but you have to raise the retail price to do that. And so what you're doing then by framing it in these tiers, you're keeping the customer focused on the results, not the cost comparison. So they can see if they sell more, they're going to make more. You incentivize them to do that. Really smart. And then also use revenue share to justify premium art and decoration. So you can slip some things in there that are higher dollar value that are going to generate more revenue, because you can say, hey, listen, even if we don't sell a ton of these $60 hoodies, you're going to get to your 10,000 a lot faster, but you're making 25% on 60. So that's $15 a shirt. So that's going to get somebody's attention. And you're also aligning your goals with theirs, which is making more money. So you're making more money, they're making more money, and everybody's happy. Premium decoration, I'm a huge fan of this. I think this is a huge miss by a lot of our customers. Everybody kind of gets, stuck in the ways they've always done things. If you have access to embroidery equipment, now you have access to patches. You have access to applique, mixed media, combining, applique with DTF transfers. I've seen that a lot recently. So being able to have that premium decoration process really plays well to ornate artwork. So like if you have a really ornate patch, like we were looking at that patch earlier, that'd be a perfect thing to do either as order a woven patch or an embroidered patch. And it just elevates the whole level of that merch program. And you can always have that inexpensive product that's that price point for the masses, the $15 t-shirt, but you could do a premium level t-shirt with an applique on it or an embroidered patch on a t-shirt. Yep, people do it, and charge $40 for it. And folks will bite on it because the shirt feels better and the graphic looks cooler and it's worthy of $40. You're showing the price difference is justified by the visual impact. It just looks cooler. If you don't believe me, check this out. So I'm just going to click into the store. And this is a store I did for a webinar a few weeks ago. And, boring screen printing graphic, but look at this. That's a really nice applique right in there. So twill applique with embroidery. And yeah, I could get $70 for that for sure. Or over here, we just did a patch in here, applique patch. I can get $55 for that crew neck. And we all know what that crew neck costs. It's about a $13 crew neck. So, and that patch costs under $5 because most of the sewing area is fabric, is twill. So the only embroidery on that is the perimeter and that text right there. So that design's probably got 10, 12,000 stitches in it, $5, $6 cost to get that made. And you got a $20 cost with the goods and you're selling it for $55 and you're giving them a 20% revenue share. So they're getting $11 on it. That's a pretty good deal for everybody. So I'm a huge fan of premium decoration processes. Now, really important key point. Once you start doing great graphics, once you start having great looking stores to sell them through, you have a virtual showroom. It's always on. It's a 24/7 showroom. And you can send out links to different stores in a prospecting campaign and say, hey, these are different stores that we're running or that we have run. And this showcases what we can do for you. These are the same things that we do for you. And so you can curate your art collections from GraphicsFlow into specific categories or themes, school, corporate. You're sharing those store links so people get ideas. Hey, could I do that in my store? It looks really cool. I saw it in this other store. Could you do the same thing for mine? Sure, of course. And then you can create different stores by vertical market. So a vertical market might be a church groups, right? Could be military, could be scout groups, could be schools, could be corporate, could be hospitality, could be anything. So you can create little unique stores for those different vertical markets. And that store and those graphics become your portfolio. And it just makes you look so professional. Going back to that East Booster store, if you go into the merch section in here, this is very professional looking. We've got really good looking merch in here. All these graphics, every single one came from GraphicsFlow, even these appliques here. And you just look like a real pro, and the merch will sell better. That's probably the biggest advantage is if you use a solid graphic and that really connects with people and you have thousands of them in GraphicsFlow, the store is going to do better. Here's the main thing I want to teach you guys today. Be a creative consultant. Don't be a t-shirt broker. Be a creative consultant. Position yourself as their partner. I am your partner. I'm the person you come talk to when you need good ideas to put on merchandise. I'm going to bring those to life to you. I'm bringing the graphics to the table. I'm not just a vendor. I'm offering you guys solutions. I'm making life easy for you. And so, that's where, if you really can step in around event planning and fundraising and you create some mock-ups around that, That's a huge problem for anybody that's in a charitable organization or a school or a travel soccer team. Nobody likes to do that. So if you can come in and say, hey, listen, I know that's a pain for you guys to do. You have to do it because those kids have to travel to those tournaments. But let's put in an ongoing program where you guys are constantly making money. I'll set the whole plan up for you. I've got a little checklist. We'll go through, get the whole thing set up. We'll launch the stores. You guys are going to get a revenue share, and you're going to get mailbox money, which is money that's going to come in the mailbox once a month. And you guys aren't going to have to put any money whatsoever. So what you're doing is you're taking burden off those busy buyers, and you just have these plug and play concepts. This is what I've done with this other group over here. Let's do the same thing for you. And you're not just quoting them on product. You're giving them inspiration. You're showing them solutions. And you know what? You want to help clients look good. And you want to help them look good to the people that they're creating the merch for and their bosses too. And if they do that, if you make a human resources manager look great because you did a really fun holiday themed graphic around the Denver Broncos with, the orange and navy blue and white theme, but it had your corporate identity on it and an element of your logo. We didn't put the Broncos logo in there, but you could definitely make the connection and maybe even throw a weathered effect over that. And everybody on the staff that's a Broncos fan is going to love that. The Chiefs fans, probably not so much. Maybe you want to make an alternative version for the non-Broncos fans, but avoid the commodity trap. This is huge. And this is an original idea. This is something that I've been taught from the very earliest of my experience as a manufacturer's rep in the decorated apparel industry. Price, value, service. Pick your favorite two. You can't have all three. I can't give you the best value. I can't give you the best service and then also give you the best price. Yeah, if I give you the best price, I'm probably going to have to take something out of value. It's going to have to be a cheaper product, or the graphics not going to be as cool, or the decoration process isn't going to be as cool. And you have to draw that boundary with the customer. When you walk into Walmart, you're probably not going to talk to anybody. You're just kind of on your own, and the products aren't going to be awesome, but they'll be good enough and they're cheap. So you buy them. When you walk into Nordstrom, you're going to get ambushed by a sales rep, and you went in there to buy a tie, and next thing you know, you're trying on pants and a collared shirt, right? Speaking from experience. The idea is that you really want to build your business around value and service as opposed to price, because there's always going to be somebody that's going to be cheaper than you, and they're probably going to be around long enough to annoy you, and then they're going to be gone, and there's going to be another one. And so if you build your business around value and service, people learn to rely on you. So you just have to reframe that. Train your customers to expect creative leadership from you. You're making strong recommendations. You're not just taking an order. And, elevate your role with each new campaign or project. Don't talk to them about being a sales rep. You're their fundraising manager. You are acting as a consultant with them. And then this creative process becomes your competitive moat. The competitors can't get past the moat because you've built everything around value and service. And the way you do that was with graphics, because graphics fall into all three of these categories. Graphics fall into value. They increase the value of the product. Service, you're providing them the service to develop the graphic. And better graphics, you get to charge more for them. Not so great graphics, probably have to charge less. So graphics is a great way to elevate the value and the service so you don't have to be focused on the price. So one thing I also want to talk about, if you've taken classes with me before, you hear me talk about lifestyle branding. It's really easy to get caught just doing this logos on stuff thing around corporate, especially because, everybody needs that boring polo shirt with the left chest embroidery on it, or that basic tee. But guess what? Employees aren't really all that into wearing that stuff. They wear those products because they have to, not because they want to. And so if you can go to your buyers or an HR manager and say, yeah, we'll do all that boring uniform stuff for you, but let's create a store and let's drop in some really cool graphics like that Denver Broncos idea we had, or, we're in Arizona, we're in a desert climate. Wouldn't it be fun to create some desert themes around that in our merchandising program? Take a collegiate graphic, swap out the logo for an icon or a tagline from the branding. Collections beyond just your logo wear. Here's a quarter zip polo shirt with a applique patch on it. We're trying to create cultural branding. So there's a theme. Most corporations have kind of a culture where they're going to wear very specific types of things. Sometimes it's really formal. Sometimes it's very informal. I promise you this, if you present these types of ideas to your corporate customers, you'll sell more. You just will, because they'll buy their promo gear and all their logo gear, and then they'll buy this on top of it. And if you're running stores, what you do is you get permission from them to incorporate some of these new ideas every month. Hey, let's do a product of the month. Then maybe it's at a special price, or maybe it's partially underwritten the cost from the business itself, or maybe we're giving the employees $50 coupons to go into the corporate store and buy whatever they want. And maybe they spend $100. So we take that extra $50 and we pay a revenue share back to the corporation for their favorite charity. So there's all kinds of clever ways to position corporate lifestyle branding. So some best practices: curate targeted graphics collections in My Art for each segment. So go through, you have a favoriting function in GraphicsFlow. Go through, favorite all your favorites, and then take those favorites and then move them into My Art as curated collections. So your favorite church art, your favorite military art, your favorite mascot designs, because then they're really easy to locate. Now you could do a search too, but they're really easy to locate. And if you just want to drop some of those mascot designs into an art approval for a specific school, it's easy to locate because they're just sitting in My Art. So introduce visuals in your first meeting, not after the quote. Don't start talking about money stuff first. Lead with the art. Even if you just bring your tablet in there and you've done a couple mock-ups and you pull up your GraphicsFlow account, how cool is that? And you click on My Art and there's a bunch of designs you did for them. That's professional. And you can do that because GraphicsFlow is mobile friendly. It works great on a phone or a tablet. Use art approvals to set expectations and speed up decisions. So that art approval forces a customer to act. They're checking their email boxes, right? Are they returning their phone calls? Of course not. So you can take that link from that art approval and paste it into a text message if you want to. Art approvals speed things up. It makes that process really easy to do revisions because they can approve or reject. You can update, it resends to them. Works really, really well. Show the difference between free art portal art and premium custom services. Show them that they can go to the art portal and still get something super cool looking that they'll connect with, that'll sell really well, generate a lot of funds through their fundraiser, and that they don't have to go to those premium custom services. And if you offer those premium custom services, stop giving them away for free. It has value. It has human capital involved. It costs you money to have your employees or your outsourced service create this artwork. So start establishing value from that. If it's a big enough order, you can go and discount it off the invoice if you want to. But if you don't establish value for that, customers are going to walk all over you. And the excuse I always hear from my clients is this: well, yeah, but the other guys aren't charging artwork fees. Well, maybe the other guys aren't having artwork as cool as you. You have a really great artwork capability, and you also have the secret weapon tool called GraphicsFlow. So you can get ideas in front of your customers really super quick, and you don't even have to go down that custom artwork road. You're supplying a really convenient way for your customers to do art. And then standardize your prospecting assets. So if you have a mock-up layout that you're doing that's set up on like a form with branding on it, standardize that. Your email templates, you can use ChatGPT to help you with getting email templates set up, and then a standard pitch store. So one for corporate, one for school, start there, and then clone it, swap colors, swap logos, and then use bulk art replacement to take the logos from one store off and import the logos for another store on. And you can do that one time and have it do 100 products all at the same time using bulk art replacement in your Inksoft if you're an Inksoft user. Next steps, what's next? Homework. Audit your sales process. Are you using visuals early on? Be honest with yourself. If you're just dumping in visuals like, hey, we're going to do 400 t-shirts. Okay, let's talk about the graphics. If that's what you're doing, I think you got it backwards. So let's flip the script on that one. Configure and promote your art portal. If you already don't have your art portal and GraphicsFlow tuned up, get it tuned up. We've got tons of videos on it. We show you all the little customizations you can do it. If you have a main page, you can embed your art portal into your main homepage if you want. Super easy to do. If you have Inksoft, you can make it look completely seamless by using a custom content block. That looks really great. Train your team members, empower them. Say, hey, this is how we're doing it these days. So spend some time, book an hour with them, do some training. Say, hey, this is our art approval, art storage process. Create some SOPs. You can set up a camera and record that whole meeting you did, upload it to YouTube, take the transcript, and create standard operating procedures in ChatGPT. It literally happens in 10 seconds. I want you to select 3 key prospects this week and send them some personalized visuals. Maybe it's just one design and a mock-up. Maybe it's a link to an art approval. Maybe it's just a link to your art portal. If you think about it like this, it's like fishing, right? So let's say you sent 3 of those out this week and you sent 3 out next week and one of them nibbled, right? So got about 15% closing rate. That's pretty darn good. But let's say you started doing that every week and maybe you did 10 of these a week. and 2 of them nibbled. And so that's 8 new customers or 8 or 9 new customers a month. Let's say every one of those customers is worth $3,000 for the annual sales. That's 30 grand. This pays to do this. And I have customers, they have dedicated on-staff people. That's all they do. All they do is prospect with art. That's like their whole business. Use GraphicsFlow to create mock-ups, do email campaigns, and prospect. They do other things in terms of customer messaging and do that as well. But it's the core of how they prospect for new clients. Keep coming back to GraphicsFlow Academy. Attend our next sessions. We're always building on these ideas. If you're not able to attend the live, always go to graphicsflow.com, go to the YouTube channel. You'll get tuned in if you subscribe every time we have a new video. We're prolific around art content, and we're also prolific around video content. So you get new art every month, and you get new training videos and new webinars every month too. So that helps you to be successful. Let GraphicsFlow power your creative strategy and help you move from concept to close faster, easier, and with bigger results. Thank you so much for joining me today on GraphicsFlow Academy, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks.